vivid it felt like prophecy? Have you ever seen the same symbol appear over and over until it felt like the universe was tapping you on the shoulder? Have you ever heard a phrase or noticed a number or watched a bird circle and felt without knowing why that it was for you? That's not coincidence. That's communication, but not of the logical kind. This is the soul's syntax, the symbolic code that speaks through intuition, image, and pattern. You see, the soul doesn't argue. It doesn't persuade. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It paints. It dreams. The language of the soul is non-linear. It doesn't care for chronology or categories. It operates in metaphor, in paradox, in archetype. This is why dreams can feel nonsensical yet deeply true. Why symbols can feel like doors. Why signs, when real, don't explain themselves. They resonate. The mind asks, "What does this mean?" The soul replies, "Feel it." Let's take a moment to feel into this. Carl Jung once said, "The dream is a little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of the soul." Jung understood what mystics and shamans had long known, that symbols are not decorations of the psyche. They are expressions of it. They are the bridges between unconscious and conscious, between spirit and form, between the deep sea of being and the surface where we live. When you dream of falling teeth, flying, or faceless figures, these aren't glitches. They're messages, but they don't arrive like emails. They arrive like riddles, needing your presence to unlock. Why does the soul speak this way? Because it's ancient, because it's poetic, because the deepest truth can't be contained in linear thought. You can say you're grieving, but in a dream, you might be searching for your child in a crumbling house. You can say you're afraid of change, but a raven circling your car 3 days in a row might say it better. This is not superstition. This is symbolic resonance. To the modern mind, this can seem irrational, but to the soul, it is utterly natural. The world is not mute. It is alive with meaning, if you know how to listen. In mythology, symbols are sacred tools. The snake does not just hiss, it sheds, it renews, it warns. The owl does not just hoot, it sees, it guides, it holds wisdom in the dark. The tree does not just stand, it roots, it remembers, it teaches stillness and stretch. To dismiss these as mere animals or objects is to miss their mythic role in the unfolding of human consciousness. These archetypal images live in our stories, and in our dreams, and in our blood. Let's talk about dreams. Dreams are not junk data. They are not meaningless firings of neurons. They are not just memories reassembled for no reason. Dreams are the soul's theater. In them, time bends, characters shift, truths appear in disguise. And every night, whether we remember or not, our soul returns to that stage to process, to warn, to reveal, to create. Some dreams are personal, some are ancestral, some are collective, and some feel as though they didn't come from us at all. The ancient Greeks believed in oniroi, dream spirits who delivered messages from the gods. In Aboriginal traditions, dream time is the primal world of creation, where the past, present, and future all speak at once. Even modern neuroscience is beginning to admit there's more happening in our sleep than mere memory consolidation. Dreams can be diagnostic, they can be transformational, they can be initiatory. The soul often delivers its deepest lessons through image, not argument. You may not understand the dream with your mind, but your body feels its truth. And that is the soul's language. Symbols, dreams, signs. None of them make sense in a spreadsheet, but they make soul sense. They are your soul's way of staying in touch, of reminding you there's more than logic at play, of inviting you back into the living mystery. When life begins to feel dry, when your path feels confusing, when you ache for guidance but find no clear answers, don't just think your way through it. Feel your way. Watch your dreams. Notice the signs. Speak the language of your soul. What if the world is not made of atoms, but of stories? Every culture, every civilization, every tribe throughout history has encoded its wisdom in symbols. From cave paintings to hieroglyphs, mandalas to tarot, totems to constellations, our ancestors spoke the soul's language fluently, because they knew a symbol is not just a drawing, it is a portal. A circle doesn't just represent eternity. It is eternity, compressed into shape. A spiral doesn't just signify growth. It invokes it. The cross doesn't just symbolize suffering or salvation. It merges heaven and earth, vertical and horizontal, spirit and matter. These aren't decorations, they're maps. Not for navigating terrain, but for navigating meaning. Carl Jung called these universal symbols archetypes, primordial patterns of human experience encoded in the collective unconscious. They aren't just inherited ideas, they're living energies. The mother, the shadow, the trickster, the hero, the child, the wise old one. They appear in our myths, in our fairy tales, in our films, and most powerfully, in our dreams. When you dream of a wise woman handing you a key, that's not just your mind being creative. That's your soul introducing you to an archetype, a psychic teacher with a message beyond language. And symbols don't just show up in sleep. They arrive in waking life too. We call them synchronicities. You think of someone and they call. You ask for a sign and one appears. You see a symbol, and something inside you shifts, even before you know why. These are the breadcrumbs left by the soul, not to lead you to an answer, but to lead you into alignment. Jung once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." And what are eyes if not symbolic instruments? They translate light into vision. They convert mystery into image. The soul sees through the lens of meaning, not just light. Consider the tarot, not as fortune-telling, but as symbolic storytelling. Each card is an archetypal moment in the soul's journey. The Fool's Leap, the Magician's Power, the Tower's Collapse, the Star's Renewal. These aren't just divination tools, they're mirrors, reflecting the state of your inner world, if you know how to look. The same applies to astrology, numerology, sacred geometry. Not because the stars control you, but because they speak a language your soul recognizes. Let's be clear. The symbolic life is not about magical thinking. It's about meaningful thinking. You're not outsourcing your power to a symbol. You're deepening your awareness through it. You're allowing the universe to speak to you in its oldest dialect. And when you do, you become a symbol reader, a dream walker, a meaning maker, not just in mysticism, but in everyday life. Even your habits are symbolic. Your morning rituals, the objects you keep close, the images that speak to you. Why do you wear that necklace? Why does that number keep showing up? Why do you keep returning to that song, that story, that image? These are soul anchors. They tether you to something unseen, something ancient and intimate. We think in metaphors. We feel in symbols. We live through stories. The soul doesn't care if it's rational. It cares if it's real. And here's the secret. Symbols don't belong to religion. They don't belong to art. They belong to you. You were born understanding them. You don't have to study a doctrine to hear your dreams. You don't need to be a mystic to read the signs. All you need is stillness and presence and willingness to wonder. Because the moment you begin to listen for symbols, you will start to see them. Everywhere. In the rain. In the conversation you overhear. In the song lyrics that hit too close. In the way the universe again and again shows up as poetry in motion. You don't need to decode everything. You just need to honor it. Ask yourself, what symbol keeps appearing in my life? What image won't let me go? What message is hiding behind the metaphor? Sometimes healing isn't found in explanations, but in the way a single image can open your heart when words no longer work. And that is the soul's true gift. It speaks beyond language. Imagine learning a new language. You're learning feeling tones, images, and synchronicities. That's what becoming fluent in the soul's language looks like. You're not memorizing definitions. You're cultivating sensitivity to what arises, to how it feels, to what it mirrors in you. Because the soul doesn't just speak in dreams, it dreams through you. Your nighttime visions are not just passive experiences. They are interactive transmissions, a kind of sacred technology your psyche uses to integrate, process, and sometimes reveal. But here's the dilemma. Modern life teaches us to ignore dreams, to dismiss symbols, to override intuition. We're trained to privilege clarity over mystery, facts over feeling, speech over silence. But the soul rebels against this. It hides messages in metaphor. It sends meaning wrapped in paradox. It whispers in feelings, not formulas. So how do we relearn the soul's language? We listen, with patience, with presence, with reverence. We don't interrogate the dream like it's a suspect. We sit with it, like a poem, like a prayer. Ask not, what does this dream mean? But, what is it showing me about myself? Ask not, is this a sign? But, what part of me is ready to awaken? Ask not, what's the right interpretation? But, what does this stir in my soul? Your soul speaks differently to you than to anyone else. It uses your symbols, your memories, your emotional palette. A crow might mean death to one person, but protection to another. A lion might symbolize courage, or rage, or leadership, or the father you never had. Dreams, symbols, and signs are relational. They are shaped by your context, your story, your sensitivity. That's why no dream dictionary can tell you what your soul is saying. Only you can feel that. Let's talk about dream journaling, not as a cute ritual, but as a sacred archive. When you write your dreams down, you're telling your soul, I'm listening. And when the soul knows you're listening, it speaks more. Over time, patterns emerge, characters return, themes recur, and you begin to see your unconscious is not a random mess. It's a myth in motion. You may find you keep dreaming of water, or houses, or storms, or lost children, or open doors. These are not accidents. These are symbols stitched into your psyche's evolution. Water may reflect emotion. A house may reflect identity. A storm may mirror change. A child may hold a memory. A door may mark a threshold. But more than that, these dreams show where you're being invited to grow, not all at once. Not always comfortably, but undeniably. And what about waking life? What do we do when symbols find us there? When the same numbers appear on clocks? When the same animal appears in dreams and reality? When a billboard quote answers the question we didn't even ask out loud? This is not magic. It's not coincidence. It's correspondence. Your outer world is reflecting something in your inner world. The symbol is the meeting point. When you align with it, you feel resonance, a bodily yes, an unspoken knowing. It might not make sense to anyone else, but to you, it speaks volumes. That's the beauty of the soul's language. It's not about universal translation. It's about personal revelation. Some people call this confirmation bias, but the soul calls it co-creation. You're not just interpreting life, you're dancing with it. The next time you feel confused, lost, stuck in your head, try this. Don't seek the answer. Seek the image. Seek the feeling. Seek the symbol that speaks to you in the silence. Your soul is already speaking. You just need to trust the listening. Symbolic Awakening. Living as a soul in a symbolic world. There comes a moment when the world no longer feels random. Not because you've solved it, but because you've finally surrendered to its meaning. This is the moment of symbolic awakening. It's when you begin to see your life not just as a series of events, but as a series of messages. As a living myth, as a soul-led story unfolding through signs, dreams, and symbols. You no longer rush to explain. You begin to experience. The world becomes intimate again, alive again, full of presence and poetry. You walk into a room and feel the energy shift. You see a feather on your doorstep and pause. You dream of an old friend and then hear from them the next day. You wake up with a song in your head and realize it holds your next step. This is not coincidence. This is consciousness in conversation with itself. The soul isn't a static essence hidden in your chest. It's a dynamic field, interacting with everything. And the symbols that cross your path aren't interruptions. They're instructions. Not in the linear sense, but in the soulful sense. They don't say, do this. They say, come closer. To live a symbolic life is to be deeply, courageously attuned. It is to stop demanding certainty and start dancing with meaning. The rational mind resists this. It wants clean data, provable results, clear causality. But the symbolic mind sees differently. It sees that a crow circling overhead can signal the death of an old identity. It sees that a broken mirror isn't bad luck, but a reminder that your reflection is evolving. It sees that the right phrase, spoken at the right time, can split your life into before and after. This way of seeing doesn't reject reason. It includes it, but also transcends it. Because the symbolic mind isn't childish, it's ancient, it's intuitive, it's whole. It doesn't separate meaning from matter. It doesn't place spirit above the physical. Instead, it sees the numinous in the ordinary, the sacred in the mundane, the infinite in the fleeting. A drop of water can mirror the cosmos. A song lyric can carry an answer. A dream can change the course of your life. And so we return to the soul, not as an abstract idea, but as a symbolic communicator, a weaver of images, a sender of signs, a dreamer inside the dream. Your soul is not bound by language, it creates its own. Your task is not to master that language. Your task is to listen to it, to honor the dreams you forget, to notice the signs you once ignored, to create space for silence where symbols might enter, and most of all, to trust that the universe is not indifferent. It is intimate, it is intelligent, it is alive with signs. The poet Rumi wrote, "Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep." The door is a symbol. The invitation is clear. Will you walk through? Will you live symbolically? Will you let your dreams speak, your signs guide, your soul show you its unique dialect? Because when you do, your life becomes more than linear. It becomes luminous. This is the language of the soul. Symbols, dreams, signs. They are not here to confuse you. They are here to reunite you with yourself, with the world, and with the story your soul came here to tell. Listen closely. Your soul is still speaking. Next time on the Syntax of the Soul series, we explore soul versus spirit. What's the difference? Until then, stay curious, stay conscious. If this stirred something inside you, subscribe, like, and share this with a fellow seeker.